Sandals on the trail? Absolutely. There's nothing better than after a long day's hike to take off your boots or your trail runners and slip on some nice sandals around camp. Also, there might be some innovation in this area that's right around the corner. I'll share more on that and some other ideas that are in the DIY spirit. As you guys know, I've always been on a quest to find the very best camp sandal. I haven't found them yet. I've gotten close, but I want to go over some pros and cons of all the different sandals that I've used over the years. So around the pandemic days when I got back into backpacking, I planned a solo trip, and I was really out of the backpacking game and I hadn't gone in a while. So I was wondering what to bring. I was searching all around, and I noticed that a lot of people bring camp shoes or sandals. So I decided to bring some. And of course, I just picked up the ones that I always walk around the house with. And that's these. These are great around camp. They're air out your feet. They're super comfortable. The only downside of these is the weight. These things are like 6 ounces a piece. So they're 12 ounces together. So that's like a pound. So I did take these on the first trip, but I kind of quickly found that they were way too heavy, although they are pretty comfortable. So I got these. Now these are pretty much half the weight. These are only 7.5 ounces. And I found these at a very cheap dollar store, and they're pretty comfortable. I mean, you wouldn't want to be walking around for many miles with these, but they are pretty comfortable just kicking around camp. The cheaper the store that you buy them in, the more lightweight that they are. And for most people, walking around the house, you want kind of a more sturdy sandal. But for us as lightweight backpackers, that's totally fine. But after I tried those for a while, I wanted kind of like a DIY option. What I did was I cut up a sleeping pad, and I just sewed on the top part. So these definitely check the box for lightness. They're only 1 ounce together. So the two of them are 1 ounce, but they were a bit weird to walk in. A couple people had the idea to put some drops of like silicone in there to see if that would kind of like stick to my sock or stick to my foot a little bit better and cause them to, my foot to kind of stay in these a little bit better. But for like, getting up in the middle of the night, maybe using the bathroom or something like that, or taking really short trips around camp, I think that these would be pretty good, especially with a couple of drops of silicone. I made this on my sewing machine. I have sort of like a heavy duty sewing machine. So I realized a lot of you might not have that, but you can also use like an awl and sew this together fairly easily. The other cool thing about these is it's DIY MYOG. So it's do it yourself, make your own gear. I love anything make your own gear. I just think being out there on the trail with something that you've made yourself, even if it's just putting together, pieces that already exist, like a sleeping pad and some fabric, it's just so cool. And it just feels a little bit more like self-reliance. And you can also really shave the weight. A couple of years ago, I went up to Maine, and we were going to have to do a lot of stream crossings. So I was looking at all my sandals, and I was like, what sandals am I going to wear to Maine? I don't want to wear my trail runners in the water. I just didn't feel like getting them wet. So I ended up getting these water shoes, and it kind of struck me as I got the water shoes that I could also use these as camp shoes. These also weigh about 7.5 ounces total. I got them on Amazon. But the big problem with these were that they just weren't comfortable. They've worked great for crossing the stream, but walking around camp, they're like tight on your foot and they just were not comfortable. They're also a little bit damp still from crossing the creek earlier in the day. So they are light, and I did have good intentions with my idea, but it just didn't really work out. So I never really use these ever again, but I'll probably bring them out. There's going to be some stream crossings in my future. And then I went to Zpacks. So a lot of you have probably tried or at least seen the Zpacks sandals. I'm not even sure what these are called, but when I saw these, I was like, oh yes, that is the answer. I'm now have found my sandal. and the quest is over. But I'm not quite sure if the quest is over. While these are great as far as weight, so my pair weighs about 2 ounces total for both of them. The big problem with these is wetness. If there's any part of camp that's got water on the ground, these are not going to keep the water out. So I just spent 6 days in the Smokies doing the AT, going all the way across the Smokies. And we had water and rain every single day. So at night, I would wear these at the campsites, but unfortunately, they would just kind of like seep water in right at the bottom. And then the bottom of my foot would get kind of mushy and watery and stuff like that. And it just didn't feel good at all. The other thing I didn't like about these was when you put your foot in them, it's kind of hard to, you have to bend down to pull this little strap up around the back of your heel. So while I love the innovation and the idea of these, they just didn't really check the boxes for me. Also, they got kind of like a deformation here on the heel where the sole material kind of is, I don't want to say failing, but it seems like it's giving way a little bit. Something that maybe the most pure ultralight people will try, and that I've tried too with good success, is just loosening up your trail runners. And then you got a makeshift sandal here that's fairly comfortable, but it also provides the protection from the water and mud and stuff like that. So you're not going to be getting anything in your shoe. Of course, the downside is in the morning, you've got to, strap everything back up. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of picky about the tightness of my shoe. It's got to be just the right tightness. So usually I like to tie them once and then just slip them on and off. One idea that I've been really excited about lately is 3D printing. There are flexible filaments now that are strong enough to make real wearable footwear. Here's one design that you can download for free on Maker World and print it right now. These are 3.5 ounces and they include paracord attachments. So the main thing to consider here is that you're printing using TPU. TPU is a flexible rubber-like material used in 3D printing. It's durable, grippy, and flexible. There's also a number of sandals I'd like to try. The Luna sandals, for example. These are 10 ounces, but they're flip-flop style. So that eliminates the ability to wear socks, which is less ideal for me in the shoulder seasons. And taking a huge jump down in weight, we have the Mayfly Imagos. But I do have some of the same concerns that I had with the Zpacks sandals, where groundwater would kind of seep in under your foot and get nasty. However, these are super lightweight. They're only 1.8 ounces for the pair. Another option, if you wanted to go super ultralight, are these temporary spa sandals. I found these on Amazon. I don't know how much they weigh, but I would guess under 1 ounce for the pair. Definitely have to watch the durability with these things. You couldn't go very far from camp. I'm always on the quest. I'm always looking for an ultralight sandal. I mean, I'm even down to the point where I want to work with a manufacturer to make an ultralight sandal that just checks all of my boxes. So what about you guys? What do you use and what are you looking for? What do you want out of a sandal? All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and I'll talk to you guys soon.